All right. I think we're going. I think things are going now. I think everything's working. Looks like the mic's plugged in. It looks like we're good to go. So let me get disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump right in. We'll start chatting. So this is the weekly live broadcast. Normally, for going forward, we're going to be doing this at 7 o'clock Central Time on Thursday evenings. If I can't make it for some reason, sometimes things come up. I can't make it. I'll post in the community section most of the time if I can't. But generally, Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central, this is where we'll be. This is a good place if you haven't got me to respond to a comment because I haven't been good about that. Come in here, join the live broadcast because I do my best to respond to every question, every comment that comes in, or every chat, I should say, during the live broadcast itself. Not the comments on the video afterwards necessarily, because I just get so many comments, it's hard for me to keep up with them anymore. But where was I going with that? Okay, we'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Anything's pretty much open game, except, just keep it family friendly, be polite, don't be hateful with anybody, don't be calling anybody names or cussing anybody. We'll have to kick you out. So I think we're all good. Somebody let me know if you guys can hear me and see me okay. Make sure that things are working. As soon as I get that confirmation, we'll jump in and get into the everything. I'm waiting to see a response here. Looks good. Okay, looks good. All is good. Okay, good. We're good to go. So let's start at the top. We got Buck Reynolds here. Says, do you know where I can get jumbo whites at? I don't know. I think My Shire sells jumbo whites, but I'm not 100% sure. You'd have to check, but that would be my suggestion. You've also got Whiskey Tango Farms. I'm not sure if they've got any white jumbo whites or not, but there's another place to check too. So check with them and see. I think that they do, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure why you're looking for jumbo whites specifically. Let me know why. I mean, if it's just a bird you like, that's good enough reason. But if there's something else about them that you think's great, let me know. We'll discuss it a little bit further. But Jim and Mike says, "Hey, all, it's been a while since caught the live. I know we've been counting you apps. No, I'm just kidding. We don't keep attendance here. But hey, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to see you. There's Verna. Good to see you, Verna. Aaron, good to see you. And where are we at here? Tim says, hope everyone is doing well this Thursday afternoon. Yeah, well, it's evening here, but afternoon, evening. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Verna processed 15 quail at one time. That's quite a bit. It says 2-gallon size bags full, sitting in the fridge waiting for old RM to leave. Rigor mortis, right? Yep. Well, hey, congratulations on getting that many processed. You said you had 15, you have 16 more to go. That is a lot to process at one time for sure. Warchild, hey, says hi, shout out from Atoria, New Zealand. I don't know if I got that right, but New Zealand, Merry Christmas and safe Happy New Year. Well, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too, and Happy New Year to you as well. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. We did. Spend it with some family here at the house. I did all the cooking for the most part. Cooked, a turkey, a couple of casseroles. It was good. We had a good time. It was plenty of food and good family. All right, Andy Rabbits here says, good evening, Chris. Hope you had a good Christmas. I did. Thank you. I just told you about it, so hopefully you did too. Aubrey Martin says, any tips on rabbit kit milk replacer? My doe died about a week ago, bloat, and left 5 of them. My other doe is feeding both litters right now, but it might get difficult for her in a couple of weeks. Oh, my goodness, that's terrible. I don't know how old your rabbits are. Let me know. We can see what we can figure out. I don't know how many you have either, but let's see. Obviously, there's 12 of them. 12 total. So 12 total between the 2 litters. The one doe is feeding. That's on the verge of being too many. 10 is about as many as I can usually get to make through. Yeah, Andy Rabbit's saying, how old are the babies? If the other mom is feeding them, I would leave them alone. That's probably okay. They're around 10 days old. First litter has already opened their eyes. That's a little bit, okay, so that is a little bit young. I was going to say, if they're a little bit older than that, they're probably going to be okay. But 10 days old, you may need to supplement a little bit. Look for a goat milk replacement or a kitten milk replacement. Go to like a feed store, something like that, and look for one of those things. Now, worst case scenario, 12 kits total is not that many. I mean, it's on the verge of being too many. Usually if I have litters bigger than 10, I lose 1 or 2. But the does can almost always handle at least 10 babies, and I never have problems with that, really, or very seldom, I should say, have problems with that. So, even if you don't find a supplement, there's a good chance they're all going to be just fine, especially at 10 days old going on now. But yeah, there's a couple things you can do. You can also look for like calf manna to help feed the doe to supplement, that'll help her produce a little bit more too. But, those are some suggestions. G. Michael Jr. says, I'm ready to talk quail and rabbits. Well, let's do it. Hey, there's Blessed with Pets. Good to see you. Big E's Farm. Good to see you too. Andy Rabbit says, I would start offering hay at 2.5 weeks old to the babies. Yeah, well, just honestly, if you've got hay and feed in there, keep the feeder full, keep the hay down where babies can get to it. They're going to start wandering out of the nest here in the next day or two if they're not already, probably. And they're going to start eating of that stuff as they're ready. You don't need to necessarily force it on them. They'll start eating of that as they're ready, but they're getting there. They're getting real close to being able to supplement their feed with mother's feed and the hay and that kind of stuff. There's Jesse Mills. Good to see you. Flapper 45 says, hey, Chris, first time catching your live, usually on the road driving. Well, I'm glad you can make it tonight. Sorry we can't reschedule and make this live available for all the times that everybody's available. But, unfortunately, everybody's got different schedules. But, hey, glad you made it. Jacob Wolf, good to see you. So and Terra says, hey, everyone from Gilroy, California, listening while on an evening walk. Well, nice. It's way too cold to be on an evening walk here. Must be nice. But, I don't guess it's way too cold. It's probably like 34 degrees or something. That's a little chilly for me, especially with the wind blowing. Rick Ellison, good to see you. Let's see. Scott says, do you pressure can any of your meat? I don't pressure can meat. Not that I'm against it necessarily. It's always just been a weird thing to me to have canned meat. I don't know why. There's a few things canned meat that I'll eat occasionally, but I don't actually can any meat. It's not terribly difficult to do. You can do it for sure, but I don't do it. I just canned up 10 pints of stock today, turkey stock from the Christmas turkey we had. Cooked that down for, let's see, I threw this, after everybody was gone, I took the carcass from the turkey, threw it in a big stock pot, the biggest one I had, covered it with water, threw some carrots, celery, onion in there with them, cooked that on a simmer overnight and about half the next day, and then skimmed out all that stuff, cooled it in the fridge. It was almost 2 gallons total of stock, and then let that sit in the fridge until all the fat rise to the top, skim that off, and I canned it up today. So I did that, but I don't can meat usually. Deborah from Phoenix, Arizona, good to see you. Jamie Mike said everything's good. Okay, I think that's probably saying that I'm coming through voice, or the mic's working, my image is working, all that good stuff. So Michael R says, greetings and Happy New Year when it comes from the Caribbean. Well, nice. Thanks for joining us, and I wish I could go visit the Caribbean right now. It'd be a nice change. Billy Glass says, hey, everyone, Hey, everyone, somebody brought you an incubator. You're so excited. Well, congratulations on your new incubator. Hopefully everything works out well with that. It is exciting to get a new incubator for sure. Blessed with Pets says, just went and picked up a female Quaker parrot for my male and ended up coming back with a trio of the hard name as well. I am Sermanes, I think is what we're calling them. I can't remember. We've talked about them a lot. Well, awesome. Congratulations on your new birds. Hopefully they all do well. There's a couple of links for, it looks like Verna placed a link for My Shire Quail Farm and Guidro's Family Farm Store. I'm not sure what those are in reference to, but there's links to both of those there, so go check them out. Andy Rabbit says, I have put new buns with a mom, new buns probably, newborns. There we go, bones, borns. I'm reading it right now. It says, I have put newborns with a mom that her litter was 2 weeks old with good ending. Yeah, you're probably going to be okay on those, honestly. They're probably going to be fine. Tony from Toronto, good to see you. Don from South Mississippi says, Happy New Year. Good to see you. Thanks. And Happy New Year to you, too. Hey, there's Jesse Mills. Good to see you, Jesse. Buck says, I was told are the biggest bird. What are the, oh, you were told that the jumbo whites are the biggest bird. I don't know that that's honestly true. I think the jumbo meat makers are as big, if not bigger. They're really about the same. And honestly, if that's the only reason you want them, I would really suggest looking at jumbo meat makers, jumbo brown, jumbo farrow, whatever you want to call them. It's the same bird. They're as big as really any of the jumbo birds out there, and they have the benefit of being feather sexable. So you can just look at them and tell that's a male, that's a female. In my experience, that when I had white birds, they were aggressive. I had problems with aggression. That's not saying all white birds do. I know plenty of people that have kept them and said they didn't, but when I had them, they did. And my jumbo meat makers are a lot more docile, a lot easier to manage. They don't have nearly as many issues with them fighting and aggression and all those kinds of things. They lay an egg a day for the most part. They're feather sexable. They're as big as any other bird out there. I'm not sure that the jumbo whites would get any bigger than them. So I think they're a better choice personally, but it's up to you. Whatever you want to get, go for it. It's just with the jumbo whites, you have to vent sex them to know which ones are male and female. And to me, that's a little bit of a pain. Rick says, processed 94, 2 weeks old, saving on the feed bill. Yep, I don't blame you at all. Not 2 weeks old, 2 weeks ago. Processed 94, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's a whole lot of them. If you have that many, you definitely are going through some feed. So good. Congratulations on getting that done. Chester Hickman, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. Child of God says hello to everyone. Well, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And Abba Love, good to see you. Let's see. Verna says that jumbo wilds are the biggest. I'm not sure that jumbo wilds are really any bigger than the whites. I think they're both about the same. But again, if it's, if you're just looking for size, jumbo wild, I think is really the way to go. There's just more benefits to them, in my opinion. Big East Farm says, Buck, I don't think they are jumbo Coturnics, or I've got whites. Well, there are jumbo whites out there, but not all whites are jumbos. You're right. Dawn says, wow, I thought you were on 8 p.m. Almost missed it. Well, last week I said we're going to 7, but, you weren't paying attention. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, sorry about that. I did change it to 7 o'clock. I'm changing jobs. I quit my old job. I'm still technically employed there through the end of this week, but I had vacation time I'm using up this last week. And then I start a new job on the 2nd of January. So I'm going back to a normal schedule of 8 to 5. So I'm going to be doing this at 7 o'clock Central going forward because it's just easier on me. Sorry, got a couple people talking to each other. I'm skipping through that, letting you guys have your conversations. G. Michael Jr. says, hey, Chris, I hope you and your family are doing well. Question, if you were new to quail and wanted to start now, what are the steps you'd take to get things going for the upcoming spring? Well, if you want to, okay, so if you're brand new to quail, you want to start right now. Boy, there's a whole lot of ways you could do this. I don't know. You put me on the spot here. First things first, figure out roughly how many quail you're going to get started with, how many you want to have on a regular basis, and build a hutch, a cage, some kind of structure for them. Get your housing in place. And then you also want to build probably a second one for your grow outs if you plan on raising these for meat, because you don't need a whole lot of breeders. I only keep about a dozen or so hens, and then that gives me plenty of eggs to hatch out pretty good size hatches. And then I have a hutch that I use for grow outs that as I take them out of the brooder box, they go into that hutch, grow them up until they're processing size, and then process them. But get that in place first. You're not in a big hurry to get birds necessarily, especially with it being wintertime. I mean, unless you're going to be keeping them in a sheltered house or, in a, insulated barn or something like that. I don't incubate in the wintertime because it's just too cold out and it's hard to keep. It's just too much work to keep everything going and get the birds in, I don't brood them in the house anymore. I brood them outside in the shed. It's not insulated, so it's very cold and, all those kinds of things. So now you can, where you're going to get your quail from if you're not experienced with incubating. You might want to look at getting adult birds, looking for somebody locally that has adult birds. And if that's the case, you're probably not in a big hurry to get them because, if you get adult birds from somebody, they're already laying. And that's an easy way to get into it. Now, if you are comfortable with incubating, get you an incubator, get your brooder boxes all set up. And then you can just order eggs in from My Shire Farm or or Whiskey Tango Farms or, wherever. And you can hatch them out on your own. But if you're brand new to quail, it's probably better off to start off with live birds. The flip side of that is if you can find somebody that has some birds locally that are, in the 5 to 6 week old range, you could go ahead and pick them up now. There's no reason you can't. But I would probably, because it's winter, depending on where you live and how cold your climate is, I would wait a couple of months before I worried about getting adult birds. There's no reason to buy birds and feed them out all winter long, and then start incubating in the spring. I mean, they're already laying eggs by 8 weeks old. So if you can find 6 week old birds in February or March, whenever it's, getting closer to spring, then you're better off than buying them now and feeding them out for an extra couple of months, if that makes sense. Hopefully I answered the questions for you. I'm not sure if I got that right or not, but if you want to talk about it more, let me know. We'll discuss further. Big E says, I'm referring, I guess, to brown jumbo browns, but I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Maybe that was one of those conversations I skipped over where you were talking to each other. I don't know what you mean, but Blessed with Pet says also picked up 10 pedigree mini Rex for $200, all under a year and a half. Well, that's not bad at all. It's $20 a rabbit, so good. Congratulations. Chester says, is a 10 by 12 by 18 nest box big enough for a New Zealand type rabbit? 10 by 12. I don't remember what size my nest box is. That sounds about right. Let me see. I've got a video on it that tells me, but I don't remember the exact size. Let me just do a Google search here, see if it tells me. That sounds about right. In fact, I think that may be a little bit bigger. 10 by 12 by 22 is what they're saying. 10 high, 12 wide, 22 long. That's what it's saying on there. And you said 10 by 12 by 18. That's probably going to be okay. I mean, if you can go a little bit longer, that should be better, but it's not really. I think you're going to be okay. I think that's probably fine. Yeah, I think you're good with the nest box size. Curtis Snow says, still no luck figuring out issues with my litters. Have those 2 does 4 days overdue now. Oh man, I'm sorry. I remember talking about that. You had like 4 litters that all just died right off. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how to help on that one. That just has baffled me. And I thought about that a little bit off and on during the week and was like, I just can't figure out what would be causing all those issues. Doesn't make any sense. You got the 4 days overdue. 4 days overdue is not terribly overdue. Give them another couple of days, see if they, go ahead and have babies or not. But man, that's rough. I wish I had better advice for you. David Lister says 10 out of 19 Chucker. Is it Chucker? I always have a hard time with that word for some reason. Partridge eggs, fertile in my little giant. When the battery on our Govee died, I replaced the battery on lockdown today, but no time to calibrate. Fingers crossed. Well, at least it wasn't the incubator dying. I mean, the incubator was running okay. Who cares, honestly, if the Govee battery dies? Don't adjust to it. Just trust the incubator if you haven't been having to adjust it already, and hopefully everything goes well. Caesar says, Happy New Year, Chris, and everybody else too. Well, Happy New Year to you too. Curtis says, litters, not letters. Yeah, I figured that out. I read the typo right. Jacob Wolf says, I was watching your video on the Dale's Quail Brooder. Do you think it would work for chickens too? If I buy something, I'd like to get a brooder I can use for either quail or chickens. It depends on how many chickens you're going to be running in it and how long. Chickens get pretty heavy, and I don't know how well they would do on hardware cloth, and you might end up with like feed issues and things like that. If you're just going to be keeping them in there for, a couple of days, a week or two, they're probably okay, but I don't know that it's the best brooder box for chickens, honestly. I just don't know. I brewed chickens, of course I brewed, a pretty good size amount in the spring, meat chickens. And I do those in a truck bed liner that I have. I took it out of my truck, multiple reasons why, but it's a drop-in liner, and I just brewed them in there. It's pretty good size, but it's a solid bottom floor. I don't know if, like I said, I'm not sure hardware cloth on the bottom is really the best option for chickens. They get a little too heavy. Buster says, Verna, don't worry, I don't have mine yet. Will be another week or two. I don't know what that is in reference to, but oh well, let you guys talk. Rabbit Homestead, he says, hey, slightly rednecked and all on the chat. Well, hey to you too. RBL Jacksons is looking to see if I can flight condition a small amount, 6 to 12 quail at a time. Think a hoop coop made from hog panels would work. Ever try this? Anyone? I have not tried to flight condition, well, anything, honestly, but I'm not sure that Coternics are going to get, I mean, I'm sure that they'll get better at flying if they're in a big hoop house like that, but I'm not sure they're ever going to get great at flying, honestly. We'll see. So and Tear says, we're paused at a few trees where the turkey vultures come in to sleep. So listening while watching them. Okay. I'm not sure why you'd want to watch turkey vultures, but I don't know if that's a rare bird where you live. Around here. They're everywhere. I mean, all over the place. We see them all the time, but I get it. So yeah, pause and check them out. So and Tara says, I'm going to do a video on making and canning turkey broth next week. I thought about shooting video on it, but I think I may have done that before. I'm not sure. And I was just like, kind of figured everybody already knew how to do that anyway. If you don't do that already, save your turkey carcass at Christmas, Thanksgiving. I got 10 pints of stock, actually a little more than that. I was at, this is another tip too. I was at Walmart today and they had the fresh young turkey breasts, never frozen, on clearance because they're best used by today. But they had the whole breast. I mean, it was the whole breast, bone in, everything, for 50 cents a pound. So I bought them all. There were like 6 of them there. I bought them all, threw them in the freezer. I already cut the breast off 2 of them and brined them for about 4.5 hours today. Threw them in the oven, cooked them off, and they're resting and cooling now. So I'll slice those up into like lunch meat and stuff like that for us for the next, well, good grief, that'll last. I mean, it's two big turkey breasts. I'll probably freeze one of them and use the other one and keep the other one out. And like I said, slice it up for lunch meat. We'll have sandwich meat for probably, good grief, that's a lot. It's a lot of sandwich meat. So it's probably 2 pounds, close to 2 pounds. But anyway, back to canning broth. I figured everybody already knows how to make turkey broth. If you don't do that already, just save your turkey carcass. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. I got, my point to that was I got 10 pints of stock and I used 2 quarts of it before I even canned it in the brine for these turkey breasts that I cooked today. So 10 pints plus 2 quarts. I mean, it's really like 2 gallons. I got 2 gallons of stock out of 1 turkey carcass. And it's great stock. It looks fantastic. I'd bring it in here to show you, but it's cooling right now and I don't want to mess with it. Spartman says, that's right. You're on at normal time. Almost missed it. Well, I'm sorry guys for the change, but hey, we'll be on track going forward, hopefully. Marty says, hey, Chris, we're going to breed the Silver Fox Trio we got from you a few months ago. Thanks a lot. Sweet bunnies. Well, awesome. I hope that everything goes well with that. I remember that now. I don't remember my name because I'm terrible at remembering everybody's name. I'm sorry. But I do remember you guys coming and getting that one from me. So, or the trio actually from me. Hopefully they do well. I know, my rabbits are doing well. Like you said, sweet rabbits, easy to handle. Hopefully you get some good good kits out of those. Dan says, question. I want to get rabbits, but my neighbor is a crazy cat lady feeding out about 7 outdoor cats. How much of a problem are cats as predators for rabbits? I'm planning on hanging cages in a hutch. I've never had a problem with them. Of course, I had my rabbits for the longest time inside my fenced-in yard, and if a cat got in my backyard, the dog would kill it. But I've never had a problem with cats and my rabbits. Maybe with the kits they might be, but it's never happened. And we have plenty of cats running wild around here. I see them all the time, and they don't bother the rabbits at all. They don't even seem to pay attention to them. So I don't think it's a big issue. Big East Farm says, Dan, probably wouldn't be much trouble. Just have a well-built cage. I have one running around, and my cat doesn't bother it, but depends on the cat. Yeah, that's probably true. Blessed with Pets says, I have 6 I am Sermani chicks in a fish tank with a heat plate chick start and shallow water dish with paper towels on the bottom, and they all died. You had 6 of them. Any ideas what could have happened? A shallow water dish, maybe. Were they wet? Did they get wet? If they get wet, it's incredibly hard for them to stay warm, and they tend to freeze and die from hypothermia, basically. So that's my only thought. If you have a shallow water dish, you didn't have any kind of marbles in it or anything like that to keep them from getting in it and getting wet. It's the same thing with quail. I try not to use water dishes. I try to use different kinds of waters for them, but that's the only thing that comes to mind right offhand, unless it wasn't warm enough. You had 6 of them in a fish tank. I don't know how big the fish tank was. That's the other thing. How big was it? Were they overcrowded? Was it too hot? There's a lot of different things that could be going on there. But those are the things that come to mind right offhand. Mary Hillerman says, last week we were lurking here, and thanks to the group, someone mentioned Bass Equipment in Monette, Missouri, and we ran right up there. And the very next day, great prices and great customer service. Yeah, they're right down the road from me. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive, 45 minutes to an hour, probably about 45-minute drive for me, but it's not terribly far. I could do that too, but I haven't. Big E says, blessed with pets more likely could have got too hot. Could be too hot, but with a heat plate, I would think they would have the ability to get out from underneath it if they got too hot. And all of them dying, I don't know. Maybe. That could be the issue, though. Rabbit Homesteading says, also, Dan, if those cats disappear somehow, I won't tell you. Yeah, yeah, it might be a good time to thin out the cats. Let's see. Hello, Governor says to Dan. I have mine outside as well with multiple stray cats that roam around. I've not had any issues with them. Yeah, it's never been an issue for me. So when Tara says, congratulations on the new job. Well, thank you very much. It is a little bit of a pay increase over what I was making before. A little bit different than what I was doing before, but in my current job, I do a lot of reporting, a whole lot of reporting, and I use Excel mostly for that. I'm really good with Excel. I know it very, very well. I've been using it for years and years and years. The new job is primarily I'm going to be doing reporting. I'm a data analyst for them. And it's primarily using Power BI, which really, if you know Excel, if you know the Power Query, the Power Pivot, those are the DAX in Excel, it translates directly over to Power BI. So it's not really that much different, but it is slightly different. So I've been studying, got a book, actually a Christmas present my son got me. Been studying a little bit to make sure I'm good on all the Power BI stuff. I think I know it. And so far, there's nothing that's jumped out at me as like a, holy cow, I didn't know that kind of thing. But it is good to refresh and be prepared. So that's what I've been doing. Big East Farm says, I will say just make sure if there is dogs, have a hutch off the ground. It's always best to have it off the ground anyway, because of multiple things, predators, parasites, all those kinds of things come from contact with the ground. Blessed with Pet says it really wasn't very hot though. Oh, your incubator or your brooder box wasn't very hot. Maybe it wasn't hot enough. Maybe that could be an issue too. Buster says, Katrina, hope the vultures wasn't at your place. I don't know that there's really an issue with vultures being, I don't know that that's a problem. I mean, we have them all over the place. I see them flying over my house all the time, but they're scavengers, really, not predators. Now, with that being said, I know that there was an issue this year in Missouri. I don't know if other places or not, with black vultures, which are a little bit different apparently than the standard regular vulture, what we call turkey vultures, I guess. What was I going with that? Oh, there was a problem with them. They were getting overcrowded and they were starting to gang up and attack animals like small calves and all kinds of things. And they actually were saying to shoot them if you see them, but that's a rarity. That doesn't happen very often. So Tara says, I like to raise quail in aviaries. The question is about flight conditioning them. When you're raising them in an aviary, do they fly fairly well? Do they get up to where they're flying better than like raising them in a cage? Dan says, thanks to everyone for your input. Well, you're absolutely welcome. I can't speak for everyone, but I think everybody would say the same thing. You're absolutely welcome for the input. That is the good thing about this community and the the whole viewer that we have, all the people that are in here, is that they're always willing to help, and I appreciate that. Nuno says, I have 3 extra females, Georgia Jumbo White Quail. Do you think I can breed them with Jumbo Wild from My Shire Farm? Males, what's your opinion? Yeah, you can absolutely breed them with them. There's no reason you can't. I mean, they're just a different color strain. It'll work out just fine. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Let me back up. You have extra female Georgia Jumbo Bob White Quail. I didn't catch that part the first time. I read it. I said it. Didn't catch it. No. Bob White Quail, Coternyx are different species. You can't breed them together. I mean, you can, but it's not going to work. You're not going to get any. If you did produce any young, they'd be mules. They'd be sterile, and you wouldn't be able to prolong them. No, you can't breed them together. They're different species. Oh, that Verna's saying the same thing. Bob Whites do not do well with Coternyx. If they did mate, the chicks would be mules, so to speak. Yeah, absolutely. Buck says, I got some restaurants that sell rabbits too. That I sell rabbits to, that wants to try quail. Well, awesome. That's great. I was at a butcher shop today, meat store. I was checking out some of the things they had there. Prices are a little high, so I didn't buy anything. But they sell rabbit and they sell quail. Their rabbit prices, they were selling for $7.98 a pound for whole rabbit, frozen whole rabbit. Dressed out and all, but rabbit, $7.98 a pound. That's a lot of money for a rabbit, in my opinion. But the quail was super cheap. It was $16 for 6 of them, I think. So they didn't have any in, so I couldn't see how big they were or anything like that, but they were out. But that was the price they had on them. So I actually mentioned I raise rabbits and all just to see if they were like, well, you want to produce some for us, but they didn't say anything. So I assume that they've got a good supply. I don't know. So when Tara says vultures are by the creek about a mile from the house, they roost in some eucalyptus trees. They're fun to watch bed down for the night. As more fly in, they have to rearrange themselves. Yeah, I could see that. Miss Katie says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Utah. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too. G. Michael says, I'm comfortable with using the incubator process to start raising quail. Would you recommend starting with 50 or 100 eggs for a newbie? Well, it honestly depends on how many birds you want. 100 is a pretty good amount of eggs to go ahead and start with, especially if you're going to be using them for meat, because, whatever hatch, if you get a 60%, 70% hatch rate out of it, you got 70 birds there. You can keep back a handful for breeders, and you can process the rest of them when they get up to that size. So, yeah, I don't see any reason not to go with 100 eggs. But as long as you got the brooder space, you got the cage space, all that, do it. Blessed with Pets says the oldest was 5 days old. I'm going to assume it was a lack of air circulation and incorrect temperature. That's most of the time that's the issue. If your eggs don't hatch, if your birds die, it's your chicks, it's a temperature issue. Aubrey Martin says, what brand of pellets do you use for rabbits and how much and where do you get it from? I use oh boy, Andy Rabbit could tell you because I can't remember the brand name. It's Emmon something Farms. I get it from a local feed store. So it's probably one, unless you're in Southwest Missouri area, you're probably not going to be able to get, but it doesn't really matter what brand. Go to a local feed store, see what kind of rabbit feed they offer. It's going to be fine. Buy that one. I pay somewhere around $16, I think, for a 50-pound bag. I can't remember the name of the feed, but it's a Missouri feed company, so they're pseudo local to me. So when Tara says, okay, depends on how many you want. This is in response to G. Michael says, it depends on how many you want. Expect a 50% hatch rate and plan for all to hatch. That's good. Expect a 50%, but plan on all to hatch. We got a super chat here from Rabbit Homesteading. $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. That's very generous of you. Thanks. It says, thanks for all the education and you give, and from also you chat friends. Oh, thanks for all the education you give, and from also the chat friends. Good people, and Happy New Year to you all. Well, thank you so much for that. That was very kind of you. And I agree. Thank you to everybody in here for always being helpful and willing to help out everybody else. G. Michael says, I'm in Utah, so thinking of starting incubating in March. I don't know Utah, temperature. I mean, that sounds right. Starting incubating in March, that's about what I would do here, but we are in a much different climate, I think. I don't know what when your spring hits, what the temperatures are like, but that sounds about right. I mean, I think you're on the right track. Flapper says, first time raising quail. They're 7 weeks old tomorrow and started laying eggs this past week. Some eggs are tiny and almost white. Is that normal? Sometimes when they first start laying eggs, that's absolutely normal when they first start laying eggs. You're going to get all kinds of weird eggs. You may get great big double yolk eggs, eggs with no shell on them, little bitty tiny eggs. You get all kinds of weird things going on when they first start laying. Or if they take a break and then start laying again, you'll get those weird things. And then occasionally from time to time, just weird eggs anyway. So yeah, it's absolutely normal. Nothing to worry about. They're on track. In fact, 7 weeks is a little bit early for them to start laying. So congratulations. So and Tara says turkey vultures are not rare. Knowing where they roost is pretty rare, and they are fun to watch with the pecking order. They come in to roost at night. Well, I'm glad you find enjoyment in that. I don't really like turkey vultures all that much, so I don't really pay much attention to them. But yeah, I've seen them roosting plenty of times. We see them all the time when I'm floating the creeks fishing. I mean, they're all over the place. Rabbit Homesteading says, so many awesome people here. I'm afraid to comment on SR because it's so far back. LOL. What? I don't know what. So many awesome people here. I'm afraid to comment on SR because it's so far back. I don't know what that means. I'm lost. I'm sorry. I don't understand. But either way, awesome people here. I agree. Bob Coles here says, guess I should jump in and say hi to everyone. Happy New Year too. Well, Happy New Year to you too, Bob. Thanks for joining us. RBL Jackson says, ever tried to make quail stock. Got the idea from you mentioning turkey stock. I've never tried to make quail stock. I mean, I guess you could. I've just never done it. I don't know why. I think it would take a whole lot of them before you'd have any kind of useful. I mean, I make chicken and I make turkey, and honestly, that's about all I need. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could make quail stock. Now, I will say about making stock, it's my personal belief. I know you can do it without doing this, but the best stocks comes from you've got to have cooked bones and cooked carcass. You don't want to try doing it with raw bones. In fact, what I would do if I had, like, say you cut all the meat off of a chicken and you're left with the carcass, throw the carcass in the oven and roast it for, an hour and then make your stock with it. It's just better that way, in my opinion. I don't really like to make it with uncooked carcasses, if that makes sense. You could do the same thing with quail, I suppose. I've never tried to make it. Don't know how it would turn out. I'm sure somebody in here has, so they can tell you about it. Jacob Wolf says, I brood heritage breed chickens so they don't grow and get nearly as heavy as quickly as your Turnage cross. I usually only brood 12 to 15 chickens for 3 to 4 weeks. I thought the quail brooder might work. It might. I honestly, I don't know. I'd be a little bit hesitant, like I said, because it's got hardware cloth on the floor, but I don't know. Maybe it'll work just great. 12 to 15 for 3 to 4 weeks. Heritage breed chickens. It might work just fine. You might not have any problems at all with it. It's just that hardware cloth is such a small gauge that anything much bigger than a couple-week-old quail, I'd be worried about foot problems and bumblefoot and that kind of stuff with them. But I may be wrong. Blessed with Pets says they were always dry. Your birds that died were always dry. So, well, I mean, yeah, you're probably right then. It's probably a temperature issue. Andy Rabbit says, I live next door to the crazy cat lady. I haven't had a problem with the cats. Maybe if the baby falls out of the cage, maybe. Well, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I mean, if the baby falls out of the cage, you got more problems than just that. But you're right. That could be, and you can't blame the cat for that. It's on the ground. It's small. I mean, it's going to happen. But no, I have not had any issues with them getting into my cages or even trying. David says, what's the best age to start breeding doe rabbits? Usually, I mean, wait till they get about 80 to 90% of what their adult weight's going to be. So if it's, you expect a 10-pound rabbit, wait till it's at least 8.5 to 9 pounds before you start breeding it. Usually that's going to be somewhere around 6 to 7 months old, somewhere right around in there. Rhodes and Valley Rabbitry says, today my silver fox rabbit gave birth to 8 kits and my New Zealand give birth to 9, both first-time moms. Wish me luck. Well, yeah, absolutely. Good luck with that. If everything's going well, you probably probably past the worst of it. As long as the babies are in the nest box, they're covered with fur, they're probably going to be okay. So congratulations. Hopefully they do well. Blessed with Pets says 7 to 9, or well, Verna says 6 to 9 months. 6 or 9 months. Yeah, somewhere around, usually about 7 months, honestly, is about when that happens for me. But it could be a little bit later. It depends. Every rabbit's a little bit different. Some grow out a little slower. Blessed with Pets says 7 to 9 months is a good range for larger breeds. Yeah, that's not a bad range at all. That works out pretty well too. I go by weight, like I said, and if they're willing to breed. I mean, sometimes, like when I was raising my does up, getting ready to breed, I started trying to breed them at about 7 months old, and they didn't want to breed. And then about 3 weeks later, all of a sudden they were ready and they started breeding again. Started breeding. So, you just go by the rabbit. Blessed with Pets says also you want to breed them before a year to increase fertility. Well, that is a good point. Yeah, you don't want to wait too long to get them bred either. You wait too long and, it's difficult to get them to breed at all or, to be fertile. Rabbit Homesteading says for helpful chatters, what? For helpful chatters, but how do you highlight people's names? What? I'm not. You mean how do you get it to highlight their name? When you're trying to chat and call somebody's attention to your chat, how do you get it to highlight their name? Well, I don't know if you can. Oh yeah, Blessed with Pets says you usually have to be on a computer. You just put an @ in front of their name, and that puts their name in there. But I don't know if it's different on a computer or not, like how it highlights. Somebody will be able to answer that for you. So and Tara says, I don't flight condition. I think it would be easier in an open space, though. Yeah, well, for sure it would be. But I don't know how well they would end up flying in the end anyway. So try it out and see. Rabbit Homesteading says, I am, but I do @ and type the name, clicks up and click on it, and it works, but not highlighted. I don't know. No worries and thank you. Yeah, I'm not real sure on that one either. Somebody might be able to tell us. Blessed with Pets says it won't be highlighted for you, only for the person who you tag. I'm seeing lots of @ that are not highlighting. So I don't know if it's different, but yeah, who knows? Anyway, S.O. Swanson says, oops, tardy again, forgot the new time. Greetings, Chris and crew. That's all good. We're just glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Oh, I bet that's it. I bet that's it, because I'm seeing @ where they're not highlighted, but if it's tagging you, you'll see your name highlighted. That's what they're saying, I think. So and Tara says, I do $40 for a full rabbit processed and frozen here. Rabbits at 3+ pounds once processed. That's a pretty good price. I should sell some processed rabbits. My goodness. Matt Connell says, whoa, I just scrolled. Sorry, I lost it. Okay, there we go. Quick question. We're in our first year raising quail, jumbo Egyptian. We are getting eggs, and they are breeding well. How often should you turn over breeders, and when should I replace them? Honestly, about a year and a half, somewhere around in there is what I find. Some people will replace them every year. As long as I'm still getting fertile eggs out of them, I don't care. I've had birds that have laid fertile eggs for the same breeders for up to 2 years before and done just fine. But it's probably best practiced really about every year and a half. It's probably easiest to do it every year. Especially if you take a break in the wintertime, just make your last hatch, get some new breeders out of that, process all your birds, and then those will be your breeders going into spring. That's the simplest way to do it. As far as adding new bloodlines in, add some new roosters in, try to get new bloodlines maybe every 3-4 years, something like that. It's not really a big concern. Hopefully that answered the question for you. Andy Rabbit says H&S feed. Yeah, that's the one I use, H&S feed. I can't ever remember that for some reason. That's what I use for my rabbits. So and Tara says, I have a friend who lived in France for a year where they eat a lot of rabbits. He said mine were by far the best he's had. Well, awesome. Interesting to hear that. I knew that they eat a lot of rabbits in France, but that yours were the best he's had, huh? Interesting. Andy Rabbit says it's made in Ava, Missouri. Yeah, like I said, somewhat local, kind of local. Barry says, where do you live in Missouri? I'm in Joplin, very southwest corner of Missouri. Blessed with Pets says, I like to be helpful. Not very often I get a chance to be. Well, you're very helpful. All right, I'm scrolling down to get through. Okay, there we go. It is good, Chris, at Slightly Redneck. Always save your carcasses and brown them, and then cook the goodness out with a dash of vinegar to get all the good stuff. I never put vinegar in there, but yeah, you could. Wow, Blessed with Pets says, I found a pet store that's constantly buying rabbits from me. 35 to 40, any age is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, there's we got an Atwoods here that at one time I talked to them and they would buy rabbits, but the price they were offering was not good. It was they don't even sell them for hardly that much, so I can't imagine they'd buy them for much. But who knows? But you're also raising like Holland Lops and mini Rexes and stuff. So, and Tara says quail stock is good. Nowadays, I just save all the bones, usually just quail and rabbit. Make a combined broth. I also have freeze-dried this broth, and it is good. Well, that makes sense. Chris Esteb says, hello from Indiana. Well, hello to you, too. Thanks for joining us. How are we doing on time? What's our time here? 46. Oh, we got like 14 minutes left. Rhodes and Valley Rabbitry says, do you have any new rabbit videos coming in the near future? Love watching your videos. Thank you for sharing your experience. Yeah, I'm working on, I've taken a little bit of a break. I haven't put out a new video in a couple of weeks, and I'm just I'm at a point where I'm like, I can't figure out any topics. I'll get back in line, hopefully. So I'll work on getting some rabbit videos. I still haven't bred them. I need to get them bred. I've just been there's been a lot going on, and I've been kind of lazy about it. So I need to get off that and get back on track and get them bred. So I'll shoot some videos as that starts happening. Let me know if there's topics you want to see addressed. Let me know. Chances are I probably already addressed it, but it doesn't hurt for me to readdress it again in a video. So I'll be happy to do it. Stanley Family says, hello from North Arkansas. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Blessed with Pets says, yeah, I have an outdoor cat. She's a motivated hunter, but miraculously she brought me a week-old baby that got out of the cage and was unharmed. Well, that's all right. Yeah, that would not happen with my dog, that's for sure. Rabbit Homesteading says, blessed with pets, that's awesome. Another thing, maybe I have an alligator farm that would buy my calls. It was, I believe, $10 to $15. That'd be nice. We don't have any alligator farms around here, so that's not going to happen. Rabbit Homesteading says, I'm sorry. I was hoping he would skip that. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm lost. Oh, okay. So must have read a comment you meant for somebody else. And yeah, I do tend to skip the ones where somebody else is highlighting it when you're talking to each other. Sometimes I read them, but most of the time I skip over those because I got so many, try to get to everybody else. So if I read a comment that didn't make sense, and it's because you were talking to somebody else, and well, forgive me, it'll be okay. S.O. Swanson says, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between chit chat and a question. Yeah, it can be. So and Taylor says, I'm hoping my does have babies this time. The name only highlight. Okay, that was a different topic. But hoping your does have babies this time. Well, I hope they do too. S.O. Swanson says, just a friendly reminder, hit the thumbs up here. 61 here, only 41 likes. Yeah, we got 45 likes now, but 41 likes. Show your support with the thumbs up. Thank you for the reminder there, S.O. Swanson. I appreciate that. I don't know what. I don't know. All right. Blessed with Pets says, I bred 6 dogs. I hope to get some some babies. Haven't managed to get a litter since March. 6 dogs. No, does, not dogs. That makes more sense. I was like, what? Where did you start breeding dogs? I read that completely wrong. Well, good luck. Hopefully it works out. G. Michael says, question, what is the reasoning for adding new bloodlines to the flock? Really, it's just a matter of, over time, if you're inbreeding too much, you can end up with genetic mutations and all kinds of issues with it. It's not a real big concern. It's just something, like I said, every couple of years, 4 or 5 years, whatever, try to get some new bloodlines added in. Verna says, Chris, out of 16 birds, I ended up with two 2FD trays of dog treats and 2 of dog food. Freeze dryer trays. I think that's what it is. So yeah, awesome. That's always good to have a little extra. I was supposed to say 2 each of dog food and dog treats. Yeah, I kind of figured that out. But anyway, Blessed with Pets says, well, I bred 1 dog. We sent our Great Pyrenees to a stud the week before Thanksgiving, so I hope she's pregnant. Well, good luck with that. I hope she is too. I wish my neighbors would get rid of their Great Pyrenees and Anatolian Shepherd, because those dogs do not need to be in town. They sit there and bark all night long at everything, all the time. It's crazy. And their yard is right by my bedroom window. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, I usually hear dogs barking. It's hard to go back to sleep. But it could be worse. J.M. Mike says, got a couple geese and didn't know if one could answer whether the male sits on the eggs. I think the gooses is working on a nest and going to be laying eggs sometime soon. I don't know much about geese. I don't think the males sit on the nest, but I really don't know. They may. Well, and so Tara says she believes that geese, both parents will incubate. She believes that with geese. So I maybe I'm wrong. I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about geese, so I'm not really sure. We are running out of comments. We got 8 minutes left, so we got time for a few more chats and a few more topics being answered, but I'm at the end right now, so I'll get a drink and see if something comes up. S.O. Swanson says, male guard, the females sit on the eggs. They'll be great guardians to the chicks. So we're getting kind of different answers here, but I don't know. Jim Mike says, thought I would ask. Well, hey, it's worth asking. You never know. Somebody knows. S.O. Swanson seems to know. Verna's got a lot more processing to do. Yeah, good luck with your processing, Verna. Hopefully that goes well. Blessed with Pets says, still heading home with a Quaker parrot in my lap. Nice. I'm not much for parrot. I mean, they're cool birds, but I don't know. Just not my deal. So hopefully that goes well for you. So and Tara says, I don't have geese. I just remember them both being very involved in the nesting process. That makes sense. Verna says, each time, Chris, it gets easier. Yeah, it does, but it's still a lot to do at one time. Boris says, happy new 2024 to everyone. I hope to be great again. Well, happy new year to you too. I hope it's a good one for you. I think that was probably a political statement, but that's all good. I don't care. Blessed with Pets says, my male Quaker has a larger vocabulary than my 16-month-old brother. That's funny. Rick Ellison says, Chris, do you like the different colored birds? To me, they're kind of cool, but it's, I've said this before. It's kind of like, I've raised different colored birds before as far as quail go, and they're neat. It's kind of cool to see the different colors. Some of them are really pretty. I like them. But it's kind of like Queen said, their beauty and their style went kind of smooth after a while. I'm in it for meat and eggs, so Jumbo Pharaoh is the way for me. It's just the birds I think they're really the best choice if you're looking for just meat and egg production. And all the other colors and stuff like that, they're cool, but I don't know. I got used to them and just got over it. Leonard says, happy holidays from the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago. All the best for 2024. Well, happy holidays to you too. Hopefully everything is good for you. Who's this? Gumbo Galahad says, I've been lurking as usual, picking up information. Hopefully everyone had a great Christmas and a happy new year. Well, mine was pretty good. Hopefully yours was too. Nothing too terribly exciting, but a good time with the family. I did get a new meat slicer. My wife bought me a meat slicer for Christmas. So I and the bad thing is I got a brand new meat slicer, but then we got all these leftovers. So I don't have any excuse to go buy meat to slice up. But yeah, that looks good. S.O. Swanson says, you getting anxious for the transition to the new job? Not really. I wouldn't say anxious. I don't really get anxious. I don't really get nervous about things or stress out about things. I'm pretty laid back, pretty easygoing, pretty confident that I'll be able to take it. I wouldn't have applied for it if I hadn't felt like I was, going to be good at it. But I am taking some time to kind of study. I mean, I got the week off anyway. So let's see, I've made it this book here, Supercharged Power BI. I'm on page 77 of 200 and some odd pages. But there's a lot of it that I can probably, just skim through and get it pretty good. So I'm pretty happy or pretty confident with it. But again, just preparing. I'm not anxious, not nervous. I'm sure it's going to go great. Walsh Homestead says, hello, everyone. Good evening. He says, not hello, everyone. I read that from another comment. Good evening. And here's to wishing everyone a happy new year. Well, happy new year to you too. Blessed with Pets says, I bought the boy for $800 a while back, and I just picked up this female for $250. Wow, those are expensive birds. But hopefully they do well for you. Verna says, Chris, I got a meat grinder and veggie processor for my KitchenAid. Well, awesome. I got a meat grinder a few years ago for Christmas, so I've used it several times. It's a pretty nice little gadget to have. Leonard says, restarted my rabbit and quail rearing in 2023, so hopefully to further expand in 2024. Chris, have you tried making rabbit ham? I have not. I don't know anything about that, so that's something I may have to look into. I don't know. Andy Rabbit says, I got an electric meat peeler or an electric quail egg peeler for Christmas. Well, awesome. Congratulations to you. Steve says, hey, Chris, my 9-month-old Anatolian is quiet as a church mouse until she uses someone. And then she wants to go say hi and go for a walk with them until I don't think that's user someone. I don't know what that means. Yeah, well, the neighbors' dogs, I mean, they're just doing their job. I get it, but there's just too much going on in the city. There's a cat walking down the street. There's a person walking down the street. There's a car door slamming a block away. There's, whatever. And all that sets them off. They bark at all of it, So, and Tara says, do you have a no-cut glove to use with your meat slicer? I do not, but I just don't put my hands there. I mean, it's got a plastic thing, to keep your hands away from it. It's not really that dangerous, I don't think. But no, I don't have a no-cut glove. RBL Jackson says, congratulations on the meat slicer. I got a new grinder for Christmas, bigger until then my old one. LEM number 32 with a 1.5 horsepower motor. It will chew through meat very quickly. I process deer and hogs every year. Well, awesome. I need to put mine to more use for sure, but yeah, I've got one. Abba Love says, my quails are still not laying much. I did try putting lights out there and turn them off at 9 p.m. They're only 2 eggs each day, and they're 21 weeks old. What else can I do? Give them a little time. I mean, we just passed the solstice, the shortest day of the year. Days are going to start getting longer now. Give them some time. Keep the lights going. And, I don't know. If we were doing 9 o'clock at night, that's just on the verge of 14 hours. So, I mean, just give them some time. It'll pick up. They'll be fine. Blessed with Pets says, I'm excited. I'll be 16 in February, and I get my license. So I'm going to be picking up too many animals. Well, awesome. I'll be 50 in February. So we got birthdays that are really close to each other, I'm sure. And I don't get anything exciting for turning 50. No license or anything. Just what it is. Buster says, Chris, good luck on your new job, and thanks for all the information you have shared here. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Rabbit Homesteading said, I'm sorry for all the confusion with out-of-time questions. You guys are all awesome and appreciate it. Feel free to ask stupid questions. We are all good. No questions actually stupid. Relax and ask. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Don't apologize. It's all good. Sometimes I just don't get it, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying, and I move on. I figure you'll ask again if you need to. So, and Tara says, Abba, they need 14 to 16 hours of light. Do they have that much? They will start 2 to 3 weeks after getting that every day. Yeah, just give them some time, and you're probably just on the verge of the 14 hours a day they need. So as the days start getting a little bit longer, you'll start getting egg production out of them. 2-minute warning, huh? Yeah, we're out of time right there. All right. Chris wants to know, what job did you get, Chris? Well, it's a data analyst job for a mental health and wellness facility. They treat people with depression and substance abuse and those kinds of things. So data analyst doing reporting and things like that is what I'll be doing. So, all right. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up because it is out of time. I got dinner cooked, ready to eat, and go spend some time with my wife before you have to go to bed. You have to get up. She has to go to work. I'm off, but she has to go to work tomorrow. So, all right. Thanks for joining me tonight. It's always good to hang out with you guys. We'll see you guys next year because it'll be the new year before we get back on here again. And as always, God bless. Take care.